America is a country synonymous with ambition, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of prosperity. Over the centuries, towns and cities across the nation have sprung up, thrived, and in some cases, faded away entirely. These ghost towns, once vibrant with life and bustling with activity, now stand silent and deserted. They are reminders of how quickly fortunes can change, how economic shifts, environmental disasters, and human errors can leave a once thriving community completely abandoned. In this blog, we will delve deep into the stories of 10 of America's most fascinating ghost towns, exploring the reasons why nobody lives there anymore, and what remains today. Centralia, Pennsylvania, might be the most infamous ghost town in America. Known for the underground fire that has been burning beneath its surface for over 6 decades. Once a prosperous mining town, Centralia's fate took a dramatic turn in 1962 when a fire ignited in one of the town's coal mines. The fire was initially thought to be contained, but it soon became clear that it was spreading through the vast coal deposits under the town. Efforts to extinguish the fire were unsuccessful, and as it continued to burn, it released toxic gases and caused the ground to become dangerously unstable. As the situation worsened, the federal government declared Centralia unsafe, and by the 1980s, most residents had relocated. Today, only a handful of people remain, defying evacuation orders, but the majority of the town is abandoned. The streets are cracked and overgrown with weeds, homes and businesses stand empty, and a sense of desolation pervades the air. The fire beneath Centralia is expected to continue burning for another 250 years, making it a ghost town for the foreseeable future. Bodi, California, is a classic example of a boomtown turned ghost town. During the late 1800s, Bodi was one of the fastest-growing cities in the state, thanks to the discovery of gold in the nearby hills. At its peak, Bodi was home to around 10,000 people with over 2,000 buildings including saloons, a red light district, and even a Chinatown. The town was notorious for its lawlessness, earning a reputation as one of the wildest towns in the West. However, like many boomtowns, Bodi's success was short-lived. As the gold veins began to deplete, miners left in search of new opportunities, and the town's population dwindled. By the early 20th century, Bodi was in decline, and by the 1940s it was abandoned altogether. Today, Bodi is preserved as a state historic park, and its buildings have been kept in a state of arrested decay, meaning they are maintained but not restored. Visitors can walk through the deserted streets, peering into windows to see homes and businesses frozen in time, but no one lives there anymore. Glen Rio is a ghost town that straddles the border between Texas and New Mexico, a casualty of the changes brought by the interstate highway system. During the heyday of Route 66, Glen Rio was a bustling stop for travelers, with motels, diners, and gas stations catering to the steady stream of cars passing through. The town was even featured in the 1940s documentary The Grapes of Wrath, symbolizing the hope and promise of the open road. However, in the 1970s, the construction of Interstate 40 bypassed Glen Rio entirely, cutting off the town's lifeblood. Without the traffic from Route 66, businesses closed and residents moved away. Today, Glen Rio is a ghost town, with its once busy streets empty and its buildings crumbling. The signs for long-closed motels and cafes still stand, faded and weathered, but no one is there to serve the travelers who no longer come. Kaba Alabama holds the distinction of being the state's first capital, but its history is one of floods, disease, and eventual abandonment. Founded in 1819, Kaba was chosen as the capital due to its strategic location at the confluence of the Kaba and Alabama rivers. The town grew quickly, becoming a hub for trade and politics in the region. However, its location proved to be a double-edged sword, as the rivers that brought prosperity also brought disaster. Kaba was prone to frequent flooding, and after a particularly devastating flood in 1825, the state capital was moved to Tuscaloosa. The town continued to exist as a cotton shipping center, but its fortunes waned over time. The Civil War further diminished Kaba's importance, and by the end of the 19th century, it was abandoned. Today, Kaba is a ghost town, preserved as an archaeological park. Visitors can explore the ruins of the old state house, churches, and homes, but the town itself is long gone. Rollie Nevada is a ghost town that rose and fell with the mining boom in the early 20th century. Founded in 1904 after a rich gold deposit was discovered nearby, Rollie quickly grew into a bustling city. At its peak, the town had electric lights, water mains, telephones, and even a stock exchange. Investors poured money into Rollie and it seemed destined for greatness. However, the boom was short-lived. By 1907, the mines were beginning to play out, and the financial panic of that year further devastated the town's economy. Investors pulled out, businesses closed, and by 1911 the mines had shut down completely. The population dwindled, and by 1920, Rollie was abandoned. Today, the town is a popular tourist destination with its remaining buildings including a schoolhouse, bank, and train station, standing as eerie reminders of the city's brief heyday. Despite its fascinating history, no one lives there anymore. While not located in the United States, Pripyat, Ukraine is one of the most famous ghost towns in the world, and its story parallels that of many American ghost towns. Pripyat was established in 1970 to house the workers of the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was a model Soviet city with modern amenities, schools, hospitals, and a population of nearly 50,000 people. All of that changed on April 26, 1986, when reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl plant exploded, releasing a massive amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere. The residents of Pripyat were evacuated within 36 hours, leaving behind their homes, belongings, and entire lives. Due to the high levels of radiation, Pripyat has remained uninhabited ever since. The city is now a chilling ghost town, with nature slowly reclaiming the buildings and streets. While it has become a destination for adventurous tourists, no one can live there due to the lingering radiation. Calico, California. The Silver Rush deserted. Calico, California is a ghost town that tells the tale of the Silver Rush in the American West. Founded in 1881, Calico quickly became one of the most productive silver mining towns in the region, with over 500 mines and a population of around 1,200 people. The town had all the trappings of a classic Wild West community, including saloons, a schoolhouse, and a general store. However, like many mining towns, Calico's fortunes were tied to the price of the resource it was built on. When the price of silver plummeted in the 1890s, Calico's economy collapsed. Mines closed, residents left, and by 1907, the town was nearly deserted. In the 1950s, Walter Knott, the founder of Knott's Berry Farm, purchased and restored Calico, turning it into a tourist attraction. Today, visitors can explore the old mines and buildings, but no one calls Calico home anymore. Jerome, Arizona. From boomtown to ghost town. Jerome, Arizona is another example of a town that rose and fell with the fortunes of mining. Established in the late 19th century, Jerome was once the wickedest town in the West, thanks to its booming copper mines. At its height, Jerome had a population of around 15,000 people, and the town was known for its rowdy nightlife, including saloons, brothels, and gambling halls. However, the decline of the copper industry in the mid-20th century led to Jerome's rapid decline. Mines closed, jobs disappeared, and the population dwindled to fewer than 100 people. By the 1950s, Jerome was nearly a ghost town. However, the town was saved from complete abandonment by a group of artists who began moving in during the 1960s, attracted by the town's historic buildings and scenic location. Today, Jerome is a thriving artist community and tourist destination, but it is far from the bustling hub it once was. Detroit, Michigan. The city that shrank. Detroit, Michigan is perhaps the most unique entry on this list because, unlike the other ghost towns, it is still a functioning city with a significant population. However, large portions of Detroit have been abandoned, earning the city a reputation as a ghost town within a metropolis. Once the heart of America's automotive industry, Detroit's population peaked in the 1950s at around 1.8 million people. However, the decline of the auto industry, coupled with economic downturns, racial tensions, and suburbanization, led to a massive population decline. By the early 21st century, Detroit's population had shrunk to less than 700,000, and entire neighborhoods were left empty. Homes, factories, and schools stand abandoned, and nature has begun to reclaim the land. Efforts to revitalize Detroit are ongoing, with new businesses, artists, and young professionals moving in, but the scars of its decline remain visible across the city. Thurman, West Virginia, the railroad town, left behind. Thurman, West Virginia, is a ghost town that once thrived as a railroad town in the early 20th century. Located in the heart of the Appalachian coal country, Thurman was a vital hub for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, which transported coal from the region to markets across the country. At its peak, Thurman had a population of around 500 people, and the town was bustling with activity. However, as the coal industry declined and other forms of transportation, such as trucks and automobiles, became more prevalent, Thurman's importance diminished. The town's population began to dwindle, and by the 1950s, most residents had moved away. Today, Thurman is preserved as part of the New River Gorge National Park and Preserve, and its historic buildings, including the train depot, are maintained by the National Park Service. While tourists visit Thurman to experience a piece of history, no one lives there anymore. Conclusion: the haunting legacy of America's ghost towns. The ghost towns of America are haunting reminders of the impermanence of human settlements. Each of these towns was once a thriving community, full of hope and promise, but circumstances beyond their control led to their decline and eventual abandonment. Whether due to natural disasters, economic collapse, or simply the march of time, these towns were left behind as their residents moved on in search of better lives. Today, these ghost towns stand as silent witnesses to the past, offering us a glimpse into the history and culture of different eras in American history. They remind us that nothing is permanent, and that the forces of nature, economy, and human ambition can shape the fate of entire communities. While no one lives in these towns anymore, their stories continue to captivate and intrigue those who visit, ensuring that they are not forgotten.